Ever feel like time's off? Like maybe, somehow, you took the wrong turn into a parallel Tuesday? Yeah, you're not alone. Here are the top 10 real-life time travel stories that'll mess with your sense of reality. Let's open up the files. Let's start with the infamous case of Pan Am Flight 94LT. The basics. A passenger plane took off from New York in 1955, vanished mid-air, then allegedly landed, intact, in Caracas, Venezuela 37 years later. The crew was confused, the tower was confused, the passports were still dated 1955. But before anyone could detain them or snap a picture, the plane took off again and disappeared into the sky. No crash record, no return. And no one on that flight was ever seen again. Most officials call it an urban legend. But here's the kicker. Archived radio logs and transcripts from the Caracas airport match elements of the retold story. There's just enough to doubt the lie, but not enough to call it truth. It's a story that refuses to stay grounded. In 1901, two respected British academics, Anne Moberly and Eleanor Jourdan, visited the Petit Trianon on the grounds of Versailles. Nice afternoon stroll, right? Until they both claimed to see people in 18th century clothes, hear strange music, and witness a woman sketching, who they later became convinced was Marie Antoinette. It wasn't until years later they published a book about their experience, calling it a time slip. Critics shredded it, but supporters point to the way both women independently described people and objects that weren't yet documented in history books at the time. Could it have been some kind of optical echo, a reverse haunting, or a full-on walk through a wrinkle in time? In 1950, New York cops found a bewildered man standing in midtown traffic. He wore an old-fashioned outfit and was struck and killed moments later. He carried 19th century currency, business cards for a non-existent company, and ID matching a man named Rudolph Fentz, who, as it turns out, vanished without a trace in 1876. Skeptics claim it's a work of fiction that got taken as fact. Except early police reports match the details, and a Rudolph Fentz really did disappear in 1876. Still, no confirmed photos, no family records, just a man out of time who might have skipped a century or two by accident or intention. An off-the-books report from a former air marshal hit a fringe conspiracy site back in 2006. According to the anonymous pilot, their flight crossed into what was described as a cloudless fog bank over the Pacific. Instruments failed. Time felt wrong. When they came through the other side, the flight clock had lost 24 minutes, but they'd used no extra fuel. Passengers were unusually groggy, like they'd been sedated. The plane suffered no damage, and the crew was instructed to never file a deviation. It's a classic airplane time loss story, but this one includes crew names that were later scrubbed from FAA access logs. Fabricated. Maybe. Or maybe someone really didn't want this on record. Small Utah desert town, August 1974. A lone traveller reported walking outside to smoke a cigar, except the skies weren't right. They were emerald green, with strange shifting clouds. Streetlights flickered, but no noise, no animals. Later he noticed his watch ran 7 hours late. This incident, filed anonymously through a local newspaper, includes aerial photographs from that day showing unusual cloud behaviour, ones meteorologists later called anomaly artifacts. The region around Gadianton Canyon has a packed history of strange sightings. But this one, it seems like someone let the rendering lag. Or worse, someone paused the sky. In Vatican City, there's an unsanctioned rumour of a secret device, the chronovisor. Allegedly built in the 1950s by priest-scientist Father Pellegrino Ernetti, it was said to allow the viewing, though not altering, of past events via residual energy. The story entered public knowledge when a photograph surfaced, supposedly of the crucifixion, taken through the chronovisor. Experts called it fake. but fragments of blueprints and leaked letters still circulate online. Even some members of Italian Parliament spoke about it. Critics call it nothing but a blend of faith, paranoia, and tech lore. And yet, the image exists, just blurry enough to keep the mystery breathing. Tokyo, 1981. A freelance journalist writes about stumbling into a subway station he's never seen before. Platform 4B of Kisaragi Station. No signage, no announcements. He texts his wife, but cell signal fades. Hours pass. Then he sends one last message. I met someone. They said I'm not where I think. He was never heard from again. Years later, a thread surfaced online from a woman who said she too arrived at Kisaragi, uncharted, unfamiliar, and describes the same train. Some believers think it's a dimensional echo, others a metaphor gone viral. But to this day, no physical record of a Kisaragi station has ever been found. In 1935, a man named Victor Goddard, an officer in the British Royal Air Force, flew over what was supposed to be an abandoned airfield in Drem, Scotland. But as he passed over, he saw working planes, ones that didn't exist yet, and ground crews in uniforms not yet standard. Years later, the airfield was revamped to match exactly what Goddard claimed to have seen, paint colours and all. Was it just a vivid hallucination, or a classic time displacement moment? Either way, Goddard stuck to the story until his death, and Drem now has a weird nickname, the Preview Field. The Somerton Man Case, 1948, Adelaide, Australia. A well-dressed man was found dead with no ID, no labels in his clothing, and a scrap of paper that read Tamam Shud, Persian for ended. Nothing about him made sense. His dental records didn't match any known profiles, and even the autopsy turned up inexplicable signs. Organs out of proportion, trace chemicals unknown at the time. Some theories now suggest he was a chemically altered time traveller. Sounds ridiculous, until you realise the cipher in his book has never been decoded by even military experts. It's not a time travel story outwardly, but it warps the rules of time just enough to count. In early 2001, several internet message boards were spammed with cryptic posts from someone claiming to be from the year 3036. They called themselves Victor Zed and provided specific events tied to our timeline, economic collapses, microchip-based currencies, some of which were eerily accurate. But what stood out was the claim that time travel had been discovered via quantum gravity lattices in Brazil. Unlike other chrononauts, Victor went dark fast, but screenshots, time-coded archives, and translated logs all hint at the same disturbing prospect: that someone somewhere knows what's coming, and sometimes they slip through to warn us, or watch. If your reality still feels intact after that, congrats. But remember, these things don't usually ask permission. Be sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We drop a new file every weeknight, and you won't want to miss what's next. Stay curious out there, especially if the world around you starts to shift. That was your dose of The Unknown. See you in the next file. Subscribe for more of The Unknown,